everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Switch launch special from BigCTV. My name is Chris, aka Big C. Leading up to the Switch, we're a little over 24 hours away before the launch of the Switch. I wanted to come up with a couple videos that talk about 5 reasons why the Nintendo Switch will either be a runaway hit or an abysmal failure. Now, I've already done the video about why it would be a runaway hit, so now we gotta go negative. Let's have a differing opinion and talk about 5 reasons why the Nintendo Switch could be an abysmal failure for Nintendo. So, if you haven't been paying attention, the Switch is already getting some reviews, and they're not entirely positive. There's actually quite a bit of mixed reviews. Some people really like a lot of what the Switch is doing. Some people really don't. So I wanted to give a couple differing opinions in terms of why the Switch could either be amazing or not. So here are 5 reasons why the Nintendo Switch could be an abysmal failure. So number 1 is a problem that Nintendo has had for a long time, and it's also my number 1 reason why the Switch could be a success if pulled off correctly. It could be a failure if it isn't, and that is the lack of games, especially third-party support. Now, Nintendo is very good about supporting their consoles. They make a ton of games, and they make a ton of really good games for the Switch, and all of their systems in general. It goes without saying that when you look at the launch lineup for the Switch, it's pretty lacking. Obviously, we do have Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is expected to be a huge game. Not just in size, but also in quality. It's already in early discussions for Game of the Year, and I think it's pretty much a shoo-in for a nomination. So that's going to help. But other than that, there's not a lot on the system at launch. And with a lack of Virtual Console and not that much support from third parties, that could be really bad. Now, Nintendo, like they usually do when they first launch a system, has garnered some support from third parties, such as EA, Activision, etc., etc., but they have to really maintain that. They have to give those publishers and those developers a reason to make games on the Switch. If they don't, it's just going to fall off the wayside, like it did for the Wii U. The Wii U had some really strong, third-party support at the beginning, especially from Ubisoft and WB and EA, and all these big games showed up on the Wii U at launch, but disappeared very quickly. So Nintendo needs to hold on to that. They need to maintain those third-party relationships, or else that's not going to end well for them. So the system is not going to do well if just Nintendo, again, is the only company supporting their system. So they really have to work on third-party relations and on keeping those third-party games flowing on their system, or else it's going to fail. I mean, that's just the honest goodness truth. Number 2 is going to be their online service. Again, another topic I mentioned on my positive video. The online service could make or break the system, honestly. Online gaming is such a staple of today. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 thrive on online gaming. So the Switch needs to do the same. Yes, I know, the Switch is a tablet. It's mostly going to be played on Wi-Fi. Granted, it can be played anywhere. But you have to have a strong online infrastructure. You need a dedicated friends list. You need all these features that gamers have become accustomed to on the Xbox and PlayStation online services. And especially with Nintendo now charging, that's one of the biggest things that kind of shocked everybody, is that Nintendo is now charging for their online service. And so people have a expectation for what they're going to get from a paid service. If it doesn't meet those expectations, and if the online service is, again, not a success, that could spell doom for the Switch. I mean, they gotta get the online game down. They just haven't yet. I mean, that's the honest to goodness truth. I've tried playing both Wii and Wii U online, and it's bad. It's not enjoyable at all. It's a pain to find your friends. You have to do all this extra work to find your friend code, and it's not good. So come on, Nintendo. Make a good, strong online infrastructure that will make it easy for people to find their friends and play games with them online. because I want to defeat my friends on Mario Kart and Smash Brothers and all this stuff. Make it easier for me. Come on. If you don't, your system's not going to do well. Number 3, nothing original for the system. Now, Nintendo is pretty well known for making things that are kind of outside the box. Case in point, look at a game like Splatoon. No one would have thought about that as a game that Nintendo would make. A third-person, zone-based multiplayer shooter. That sounds very out of the box for Nintendo, but they did it on the Wii U, and it was a big success for a system that just wasn't doing very well. I want to see them take more chances like that on the Switch. If they don't, that's not going to be good. You also do not want the Switch to become Port City. That's what the launch seems to indicate, with Nintendo already having ports of Mario Kart 8 and a few other games that appear to just be ported from other systems. You don't want just ports, especially just ports from Wii U. You want new games. You want the current generation games made on not just the other platforms, but the Switch as well. That's why the announcement of games like Yooka-Laylee showing up on the Switch is great, because that way you can take a game like that on the go, and I think that's going to be a huge draw for them. So you have to make games that are original and that utilize what the Switch offers. The biggest thing is portability, but also the Joy-Con controllers with their movement, and HD rumble features, and the touchscreen. I want to see them use all 3 of those aspects, and if they don't, it's not going to end well for them. Again, that is a point that I brought up in my other video, so I apologize if I'm retreading some same ground, but I'm trying to make a couple different points here and there, so hopefully it's different enough for you. Figure that out. So if they don't do it, it's going to be a failure. It's not going to work out. Number 4, overpricing. Now, this is something that as soon as they started to announce the pricing structure for the Nintendo Switch, people started to freak out. Yes, I know. The reason why they're doing on this is the system is probably being sold at a loss. Let's be real. $300 is a pretty reasonable price for a brand new console that you can also take with you. There's a lot of tech involved in the Switch, as well as the Joy-Cons and everything else. But if you want an extra controller, that's going to cost you $80 for a pair of Joy-Con or $70 for a Pro controller, especially when an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 controller is $10 cheaper than both of those. It's not really building any confidence. Again, I've heard those the console and the controllers that are being made by Nintendo are pretty solid, but you have to be a little bit more careful about not overpricing everything. People are already expecting to spend way more money than they probably wanted to on the Switch because, I mean, there's so many accessories that are not included with the system because they wanted to keep the price down, but you kind of need them at the same time. Like, for instance, for me, I'm buying a game, that's $60, an extra AC adapter, that's $30, a case, that's at least an extra $20. And then if you include something like a Pro controller, I mean, that's an extra, $150, $200 just in basically bare essentials. So you don't want to overprice everything. Obviously at launch, people are a little more willing to spend money, but if you release new stuff, more accessories, more things to make the Switch experience better, and they're continuing to be just super expensive and really overpriced, they might price themselves out of the game. So they need to be careful about not overpricing everything regarding the Switch, or else it's going to fail. Number 5, artificial scarcity. Now, this is something Nintendo has been guilty of for a very long time. Especially if you remember back in the day in 2006 when the Wii was pretty much impossible to find. They had Wii trackers all over the place. If you found one on your shelf, it was like gold. You had to grab it and run. And then people were reselling brand new Wiis for way over market price. The same is probably going to happen with the Switch. And the same has already happened with the NES Classic, which I still can't find, and that makes me upset. So I'm a little worried about the fact that Nintendo might, similar to what they did with the Wii and similar to what they've done with the NES Classic and the 3DS to an extent, they might kind of create an artificial need for these systems, an artificial scarcity, if you will, to cause demand. But in reality, all they're going to do is make their fan base mad that they want to buy the Switch, they want to buy this new system, but they can't find it. And I know this is something they've been doing for a while, but I mean, eventually people are just going to get mad and not bother. So I want to see Nintendo quickly replenish their stock of Switches. I want to see them on shelves. I want to be able to walk into a Walmart or a Target or a Best Buy, go to the game section, and there's a whole bunch of Switches just on the shelf. I can grab one with either the gray Joy-Con or the red and blue, walk out happy. I don't want people looking over, various apps trying to find that one store that's like 3 miles away, or maybe in the next town over that happens to have maybe 5 in stock. That should not happen. So if Nintendo wants the system to be successful, they need to sell a bunch of them, and to do that, they need to have a bunch of them on shelves. If they don't, it's going to fail. So, in recap, here are my top 5 reasons why the Nintendo Switch could be an utter failure. Number 1, lack of third-party support and games in general. Number 2, Nintendo's online service once again failing to meet expectations. Number 3, not making anything original or unique for the system, as well as just making a bunch of ports of Wii U games and not something new, something different. Number 4, overpricing accessories and other features. And number 5, creating artificial demand by making the system hard to find and scarce. As long as Nintendo avoids those problems, the system could do pretty well. But if they don't, the system could fail. So there you go. There are 5 reasons why the Nintendo Switch could be a dismal failure. I know it's not super positive, but hey, you gotta see both sides of the coin. So I hope you enjoyed my 2 differing opinions on that subject, and that is going to do it for this video from the Nintendo Switch launch special. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow me on Twitch. Both are at BigCTV. Follow me on social media and Facebook and Twitter at BigCTV Show. And if you want to help shape the future of BigCTV, become a Patreon patron today by going to patreon.com/BigCTV or clicking the link in the description below. And you can become a Patreon patron and help fund future projects such as my upcoming narrative series and other various videos. So anyway, thank you for watching this episode of the Nintendo Switch launch special. Look for many more videos about the Switch, including a live unboxing on Facebook Live the evening of the Switch launch. Hands-on impressions, gameplay of 1-2 Switch, a whole bunch of different things, maybe even a review after I get more hands-on time. All of that will be included in the Nintendo Switch launch special. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Nintendo Switch launch special.
You make me a believer.